terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, and the pursuit of political aims. What do you think of when I tell you about terrorism? Is it jihadists, Muslims, bombers, covered faces with guns? What do you think of? Do you think of extremists? Do you think of third world countries? What do you think of? Who do you think of? And why do you think that? People are saying America is unsafe because of refugees? I would say that's false. The president is adding fuel to the fire by banning travel and immigration for a short period of time. Who is America unsafe from? Why do we need to make America safe again? Who are we hiding from? What if I told you that 32,685 people died as a result of terrorism in 2014? That's 80% more than the previous year.
With me now on the phone, former FBI Assistant Director Ron Hosko. Ron, with what you're hearing now, we've now held the press conference. We know a little bit more about what took place there at Ohio State University today. What does it say to you? Is this a terrorist attack, a lone wolf terrorist attack?
Boy, it sure is starting to sound like that and feel like that. Just over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we've been hearing these reports that Jeff referenced, that ISIS is putting out its propaganda again, calling for attacks of any kind.
Definition of domestic terrorism activities. They involve acts dangerous to human life that violates federal or state law, appear intended or coerce a civilian population, to intimidate or coercion, or to destruction, assassination, or kidnapping, and they occur primarily within the United States of America. 94% of terrorist attacks from 1980 to 2005 were classified as domestic terrorism. This includes the attacks on 9/11. So what are we hiding from? Terrorism is already here. Domestic terrorism has gone to the wayside and almost evaporates completely with the white male in mental distress stigma. We fail to correctly label those who are creating terror in our own country.
Since the terror attack in Belgium, many are asking how authorities can prevent a similar incident from happening here in the U.S. CBS 4's Dan Joseph has more in this week's Say What.
So the bigger question here is, are we at war with radical Islamic terrorism?
In my belief, yes. They're at war with us, so we need to be at war with them.
What's going on in other countries and what's happening to our people. They go over there and some of them get killed and they're not safe over there.
A few facts about domestic terrorism that you should know. On September 12, 2001 to December 31, 2016, 62 out of 85 attacks were far-right extremists. As of December 21, 2016, 106 people have been killed by far-right extremists. There are lots of domestic terrorism groups, such as neo-Nazi, the KKK, white supremacy, far-right, and even anti-Trump. Here are some of America's best-known infamous terrorists. On June 17, 2015, Dylann Roof, a convicted American white supremacist and mass murderer, entered a predominantly African-American church, shooting 9 people. He hoped to ignite a race war. April 4, 2009, Richard Poplawski killed 3 Pittsburgh police officers, injuring 2. He believed the government wanted to take away his gun rights, and he wanted to, quote, do something about it. He also had ties to white supremacy. On June 28, 2011, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Seung Hee, the Virginia Tech shooter, killed 32 people. He referenced ties to Christianity and defending his brothers and sisters in a general sense from being bullied just as he was. He committed suicide April 16, 2007, the same day as the Virginia Tech shooting. August 5, 2012, Wade Michael Page killed 6 members of the Wisconsin Sikh temple shooting. He had ties to white supremacy and neo-Nazi groups. He was also reportedly a member of the Hammerskins. He committed suicide the same day. Eric Freen shot and killed one state trooper on October 27, 2014. He wrote a letter to his parents and made it clear he hoped to spark a revolution by his actions. Fraser Glenn Miller, former leader of the defunct North Carolina-based Ku Klux Klan, killed 3 people at 2 different Jewish community buildings. Big supporter of white supremacy and Christian domination. June 8, 2014, Jared and Amanda Miller shot and killed 3 people. They held anti-government idealistics, garnering the people they killed, including 2 officers, with a yellow Gadsden flag and the swastika. They wanted to entice revolution. Chris Harper Mercer, the shooter at Umpqua Community College, shot and killed 10 people on October 1, 2015. He asked students their religion, believing only Christians went to heaven. November 27, 2015, Robert Louis Steer entered a Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs, killing 3 people. He hoped to end abortions. This incident drew comments from the pro-life and anti-abortion movements, as well as political leaders. Stephen Paddock shot and killed 58 people at a Las Vegas venue concert on October 1, 2017. His motives and connection to affiliate groups are still being identified. Another statistic here being shown is that there were about 78 domestic terrorism events from 2008 to 2016. There were only about 17 done by Islamic terrorism throughout the span of about 8 years. This number is almost triple that of domestic terrorism. Right-wing terrorism poses more of a threat than Islamic-based terrorism.
About the sovereign citizens, these are people around the country who believe that the federal government and even state government doesn't have any authority over them. There was a case in 2012 in which a father and son were pulled over for a traffic infraction and decided to start shooting against at police officers. There was later a shootout in which 2 police officers were killed. We have pictures of a couple of the suspects here. Brian Smith and Kyle Jokel are their names in Louisiana, Carol. And this is something that, law enforcement around the country is worried about, simply because, again, they never know when they might encounter these people, just simply by doing their jobs. For example, enforcing traffic laws or serving a warrant. And this is something that the FBI has been focused on. Here's Michael Steinbach, who's the head of counterterrorism, talking about this.
We've been talking about the international terrorism threat, but there's also domestic groups that are just as concerning that we worry about here in the United States. So you have to look, the FBI and the Counterterrorism Division in particular looks across the landscape, and we spend sufficient resources and spend a lot of time on a variety of threats.
Domestic terrorism is alive and well. We can't forget and get wrapped up in the media when talking about terrorism, assuming that it is only Muslim extremism. Unfortunately, this seems as if it is here to stay. We must work together for a conclusion and a brighter tomorrow.